Thank you. All right, that's great. So we're going to now get ready to do our morning singing. And we have Christy Snow with us this morning from North Carolina at the Carolina Center for Spiritual Awakening. She's a minister and she's written some of her own music that she's going to be doing this morning, although not this first song. But please stand and join me. And this is an easy song. You'll catch on to it right away. It repeats itself. So please stand up and let's get ready to sing.
Good morning, Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living.
Good morning,
it's great to be
Christy.
back with you this morning. Hey everybody, come on in. Hey everybody, come on in. Oh, I say hey everybody, come on in. To the Gloria in the name of love. Hey everybody, let's dance. Hey everybody, let's dance. Oh, hey everybody, let's dance to the Gloria in the name of love. Hey everybody, clap your hands. Let's hear it. Hey everybody, clap your hands. Hey everybody, clap your hands to the Gloria in the name of love. Hey everybody, say amen.
Amen.
Hey everybody, say amen. Hey everybody, say amen.
Amen.
To the Gloria in the name of love. Come on. Hey everybody, come on in. Hey everybody, come on in. Hey everybody, come on in. To the Gloria in the name of love. One more time. Hey everybody, come on in. Hey everybody, come on in. Hey everybody, come on in. To the Gloria in the name of love. To the Gloria in the name of love. To the Gloria in the name of love.
Woo. You may be seated. All right, now I'm going to invite you to go ahead and silence your cell phones. This is the time when we begin to go into the, no, I don't want to say it that way. We've already been in the sacred because we started it out with hello and celebration. That's a great way to enter the sacred. Now we're going to go within together. So I invite you to silence your cell phones so they won't interrupt us as we do so. And Reverend Judith Fleener is going to come up now and do our opening for us.
Sitting in the presence of that one infinite power of light and love, of joy and sorrow, of chaos and order. This one, this oneness, this power, this force, which I choose to call God, is that infinite energy of creation and recreation and regeneration and renewal. And it is centering in that spot of that heavenly and earthly power that lives all around me and is the very center of me. It is that God within, the true power and the true source of everything. It is in this place that I take a moment to state my word for the healing that is needed for each and every individual soul, whether in this room, online, or out in the world. That each individual has their own issues, their own concerns, their own heartbreaks that are in need of healing and regeneration. And so in this centering of knowing that the true power in every instance is that power of the divine within, I just claim a word for everyone who is going through their own personal challenges. Whether it be those people, our neighbors in Southern California, where hundreds of houses were lost, and all the memories, and all the joys. But to remember that in the moment, the memories and the joys aren't gone at all. The fact that life happened is present. And so I claim a shift in consciousness, allowing each individual going through a challenge of loss, whether that be a loss of a relationship, a loss of a loved one, a loss of things, a loss of jobs, to recenter in that place that there is always centered within that divine love, that divine healing energy, which is the power that surpasses understanding that gets us through these moments. And so for those that are sad, there is equally a number of those that are joyful and jubilant and having their greatest success in this moment. And so for those, we just join with them and celebrate. And this is what community is about. This is what this place is about. The energy of love and connection and being present and seeing truly within that being that stands right in front of us with love. That being that stands right in front of us, if we are connected with love, we are always one. We lift each other up and we celebrate each other's joy. And so I am grateful for this time together here in this room at this time. Or if you are listening to this in years ahead when it's a recording and that's exactly the words you need to hear, that whatever Mary says today touches the hearts of those that need to hear the words. I am grateful for all the people who set everything up and created food for us to chat and have coffee with, and set up the sound system, and delighted us with music that comes through the YouTube. This is our community. This is our place of renewal. And I am grateful for it, knowing that everything that happens today happens perfect and in the right accord, in the right time, and I let it be, and I give thanks, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Judith.
Well, I was just getting comfortable in my new space. Planted fellow beds and painted the ceilings, rearranged the place. Knocked down a wall, added on a room. Didn't think it'd be time to move on so soon. And I'm thinking that there's always change. There's always change. There's said that discontent is to be considered divine. And even if we haven't seen it that way, that there's always time to search avenue after avenue in every angle to find what it is we're supposed to see there in our mind's eye. And I'm thinking that there is always change. There is always change. There is always change. When change is good. Maybe this illusion of discontent is what keeps us forever pushing on. Grateful but seeking, never growing. Complacent with life's song. There's always change. There is always change. There is always change. Oh, yeah. There is always change. There is always change. There is always change. When change is good, may not look like it, but it's always good. Like it or not now, there is always change. Change is good. Change is good.
Thanks, Christy. So we're in a brand new year, and we are now in rising higher and growing deeper. So we're going off in both directions at the same time. Deep into the roots, deep into the grounding of the earth, and expanding our consciousness and our ability to be a conduit for the creative law. One of the things that we've been talking about this month, well, let me do a little mini review. First of all, we talked about the presence of God and the nature of God and us in creation, that God is omnipresent. For most of my years of life before I found religious science, omnipresent to me just meant around, not in stuff, but around, kind of like air, omnipresent. Now I understand that it can't be omnipresent and not be also throughout me and everyone and everything, because that wouldn't be omnipresent, right? I mean, omnipresent is everywhere. I'm somewhere, so it has to be where I am. So that was a big revelation for me, omnipresence, what that means. And Thomas Troward explained to us, in his thinking, that a unity can't be divided. The whole of it has to be present. But in infinity, there is no time and space limiting this wholeness. So it is fully present at every point in time and space. That means that all of God is where I am, and all of God is where you are at the same time. And all of God is in Afghanistan and Gaza and Ireland and Southern California and Ukraine and you name it. The furthest galaxy, tiniest molecule. And then I started talking about the creative law being the manner in which we sort of envision, understand creation coming into being. That if the divine presence isn't limited by time and space, how does time and space come into existence? It's through an inner movement of God upon itself that this comes forth into being. Well, what could that inner movement be? Thomas Troward basically said, the only thing that can move when there's no form is thought. So it is the inner thought of God contemplating in itself something that results in form. And that lawful way of creation is also in us fully. So it's not like we're using something that's outside of us. We're actually completely permeated by and actively engaged in using that creative law all the time. Or more clearly, we might say it's using us. Now, the way that it creates through us then is by operating on what we're contemplating and taking that as a shape, as a direction, as a mold, as a blueprint, and producing that. Fortunately for us, it doesn't do that with every single thing we think, because mostly we don't dwell on things all that much, and we don't repeat that dwelling on them all that much. But when we do, those are the feelings and the circumstances and the energies that we tend to experience in our lives and draw to ourselves. So if we have an incorrect assumption about something, we may produce a result that is in alignment with that incorrect assumption, but that doesn't mean it's true or good for us. It just means it's a reflection of what we've been focused on. You with me here so far? Yeah? You don't have to agree with me. I'm just saying, you get where I'm going. Okay. So this month we're talking about stretching into new possibilities, reaching for a greater good, like this little guy going after the strawberry. We're reaching for a greater good, which means we're reaching toward lifting the way that we think about things and people in our feelings and repeated ideas so that we bring forward juicier strawberries in our lives, or whatever it is that a juicy strawberry might represent. Yeah? If you make an incorrect assumption about someone else, you may not get the result you were expecting. So here's a story about that. A lawyer and an Irishman are sitting next to each other on a flight. And it's a long flight. And this lawyer is thinking, Irishmen, they're so dumb, you could put anything over on them. So the lawyer asks the Irishman if he'd like to play a game. He says, this will be fun. Well, the Irishman really just wants to take a nap. He's not that interested. So he politely declines and tries to catch a few winks. But the lawyer is persistent. He's a lawyer. He's persistent. And he says, the game's really a lot of fun. Let me tell you about it. I ask you a question. If you don't know the answer, you pay me €5. Then you get to ask me a question. And if I don't know the answer to your question, I'll pay you €500. Thinking, I'm pretty smart. He's pretty dumb, yeah. So that got the Irishman's attention. So he reluctantly says, okay, he'll play. So the lawyer asks the first question. What is the distance from the Earth to the moon? And the Irishman, without a word, just reaches into his pocket, pulls out €5 and gives it to the lawyer. Now, it's the Irishman's turn to ask a question, and he asks the lawyer, what goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4? And the lawyer thinks about that. He starts using his laptop to research on Google everything he can think of. No results. He emails all of his smartest friends to get their input on this question, to no avail. Meanwhile, the Irishman has gone off to sleep. After more than an hour of searching, he finally gives up. He wakes up the Irishman, hands him 500 euros. The Irishman pockets it, settles in to go right back to sleep. But the lawyer is really bothered by this question. He can't give it up. He's going nuts not knowing the answer. So he wakes the Irishman up again, and he demands, well, so what goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4? The Irishman reaches into his pocket, hands him 5 euros, goes back to sleep. If you make an incorrect assumption about someone else or about how something works, you're likely to get a different result than what you thought you might get. That's what happens with incorrect assumptions. Anybody out there ever made an incorrect assumption about a situation or a person or a thing or yourself? And then you discover somewhere down the line, or maybe immediately, oh, that's actually not how that works, or that's not how they are, or that's not how I am. So we're looking at this experience of flowing with creative law rather than trying to push it around. Making an effort to make the creative law work is a complete waste of time. You can't stop it. It operates through us 24/7. And what it does is it magnifies what we're focused on. It is operating in us, through us, as us, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no exceptions. And so we find then that we're in this kind of catch-22 where we are creative all the time, even when we know what we're thinking about or focused on or feeling really about is not doing us any good. Now, most of humanity doesn't operate with that awareness. They just go about their lives and they create whatever they create. Once you get into new thought, you become more aware of the power of thoughts and beliefs. And so you begin to pay a little more attention. Then eventually you fall back to sleep again, because that's what we do as human beings. And we need reminders that we're engaged in this flow, this power that's been given to us, that lives through us. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said the sum total, that's important, the sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. And he also says we are here and now, surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. And I might say permeated with it also. How much of this infinite good is ours, he says? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? Interesting. This is the tricky part. As much as we can embody. By embodiment, what Ernest Holmes is talking about is what we put our attention on, what we focus on repeatedly and have feelings about. And what we focus on repeatedly and have feelings about, those are our beliefs. They're things that we assume that we know, not just that we believe. We believe them because we think they're facts. We think they're truth. We don't look at them as beliefs. We look at them as reality. So, he talks about the creative law this way, which I love. He says, hence it follows that if we believe it will not work, the creative law, it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Did you follow all that? We're constantly getting a guarantee about what we believe. We're constantly getting validation because that's how creative law works. It is not there to display the truth to us. It's merely there to reflect our focus and our beliefs, and so it does. And then we get to see how those affect us and make a decision about whether we want to keep them or not. Now, the catch is that when we already think those things are reality and factual, we're less likely to question them. We're less likely to say, you know, I've got a lot of evidence for this, but I might be wrong. What if I'm wrong? And I like to tell the story about being in the School of Ministry, where one of the first classes I took was a class that was taught by a minister who was also a therapist. I was working at the time in a French restaurant for a little Corsican woman who did management by terrorism. And everybody was afraid of her. The wait staff was afraid of her. She would pitch a fit if anybody broke a dish, and they would know without a doubt how much that dish cost and that it was coming out of their pay. And everybody was afraid of her. And if you dared to quit to go work somewhere else, your name was not mentioned. You were never to cross the doorstep again. It was like black clouds all around where you had been. So I didn't like her very much. I didn't like the way she treated people. And I was a hostess in this French restaurant. And I was complaining about her in class once, probably in response to something like this, where we were talking about our expectations, our beliefs bringing forth results. And this wise older minister, who was also a psychologist, said to me, "Mary, she doesn't need to change a thing. You need to change your mind about her." How? How was I going to change my mind about her when every day she was giving me this evidence that this is who she was? How was I going to change my mind about her? I really thought about that. It was like, well, how is that possible? I mean, wouldn't it be nuts to change my mind about her when it's obvious that she's this annoying, insensitive, mean person? So I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to try this, then I have to make a different assumption. So in spite of everything I know about her, I have to make an assumption that there's something redeemable, something worthy, something good, or something I can be sympathetic toward about this person. And so I watched her. And what I noticed was she was always alone. Oh, hello. I knew she wasn't married. I knew she lived alone. And it didn't seem to be very often anybody came into the restaurant to talk to her, except for, customers. So I decided that I would just assume that she was very lonely. And in assuming she was very lonely, I could be sympathetic to that. I could recognize that that might be hard, and maybe she was, insensitive toward others because she was so lonely. So I just decided to be friendly toward her since she was lonely. And so when I went into work, I would greet her. I would ask her how she was doing. And it was her habit in the evenings when I was there at the front desk to go up into the bar and get a mimosa and talk to the bartender for a while. And well, she started to talk to me a little bit more, and in a friendly manner, which was fine. I didn't trust her, but that was fine. And I went on, being kind of friendly with her. Then she started to bring me a mimosa at the front desk and stand there with her mimosa and chat with me. Every night when I was there, she would do this. And then eventually it came time for me to move on and go somewhere else to work. And I got hired somewhere else, and I had to give notice. She gave me a gift certificate to come back for dinner. This was not the lady I had started working for. Now, mind you, she did not change her behavior toward anyone else. So there was not a transformation taking place in her whole personality or anything. And I was not trying to change her. I was just trying to see if I could adjust my own thinking about her. But my relationship with her changed 180 degrees. That really, that really got me. Like, how was that possible? How was that even available in this woman? I had never seen the slightest sign before. But questioning my belief about her, or deciding to take on a new belief about her, had changed our relationship. It certainly changed my behavior, but I was not expecting it to have any impact on her at all. Are you with me here so far? The creative law was working through me. I stopped complaining about her and I changed my mind about something about her that changed my behavior, and it changed my circumstances with her. We often tell people, as ministers and practitioners, somebody comes to us to complain about their job, how awful it is, how difficult it is, how painful it is to work there, how unfair their boss is, whatever. And I learned from that experience to say, okay, there are several things that can happen here, all right? We can do treatment about this for a more peaceful situation for you. And if you're willing, if you're completely willing to open to that, several things could happen. One, you might lose your job to give you an opportunity to open into something different, or you might get transferred to a different department or moved, or your boss might get transferred to a different department or move or get fired or move on, or you might stop noticing and it might turn out to be not uncomfortable for you there anymore. The problem might seem to resolve itself, whether it does for anybody else or not. So those are the possibilities, because sometimes in this situation, when you want a greater place of freedom and peace and you're not willing to give notice somewhere, the universe may boot you out to give you that opportunity. So you have to, know that it isn't just like the universe is going to slap peace onto your situation and boom, it's done. Lots of things can happen because the universe is very mischievous. The creative law simply uses what you put into it to bring forward the most useful result, the best result that's available from the perspective of that creative law, which doesn't choose, it just goes for, where's the pathway open? Okay, go that way. So we have this experience that all of creative law is in us, and it is acting through us all the time. And when we do prayer work, or when we go to a practitioner, or we start using affirmations about it to bring about a change in our situation, if we're open to it, we will experience a change, but it may not always be the change we kind of envisioned it would be. Sometimes it's different than that. You with me here so far? So that's why they say, be careful what you pray for, because you could get it. I had someone in my congregation in Santa Rosa years ago who took Science of Mind 1 finally, what we now call Foundations. And when she was in class, she said, oh, now I understand what I've been doing wrong. She said, one of the things I do when I treat for something is I treat for exactly what I want, and then I get it, and it turns out it really wasn't what I wanted. And I was teaching people, when you pray for something, pray for the experience you want to have, not the specific outline of how you think it ought to look, because that will not necessarily bring you the experience you were hoping for. It may bring you something else, or it may bring you exactly what you said you wanted, but it doesn't bring you the experience you were looking for from that. Does this make sense? Yeah. So what we need to understand is that our thought is creative. Now, when I say thought, that's kind of a shorthand word there, so it can be a little misleading. Our thought is what we believe plus our emotion plus repetition. That's the thought creative law acts on. That's what makes our thought creative. What we focus on, what we praise over and over again and gives us delight, what we complain about and criticize over and over again makes our self-righteousness come to the forefront. Those are the things we're going to get more of. And unfortunately, our tendency as human beings is to focus more of our attention on what we don't like, to complain about it, to point it out, to enumerate all the ways it should be done differently, everything that's wrong with that. Anybody else do that besides me? And sometimes when Amanda and I are ranting and raving about something, one of us will turn to the other and say, but they never ask us. We know how to fix this, but nobody ever asks us, right? We have it all figured out. And it's a way of making light of that thing that you get into where you're so sure that you're right. So belief plus emotion plus repetition, either repeated thought, repeated words, repeated actions, bring about more of what it is that we're interacting with when we do that. Now, can you go to a protest march without being in that mindset? Yes, you can. It's not easy, because to do that, you're immersed in an atmosphere of this. And what you want to do is come into it with a vision of where you want to go, rather than this. Because that's where the power goes. This gets you more to fight. When I listen to politicians, those I like and those I don't like, when I listen to them, the metaphor they use the most is what? Fighting. Always. We have to fight this. We have to stand up and fight. We have to fight back. Well, that's one option. Humanity has been doing that for 10,000 years. How's it working so far? It's maybe time to shift gears. Hello? I've been listening to something about the Salem witch trials and the people who were political leaders or religious leaders. And what I see is the very same stuff I see happening in our system right now. The very same stuff. Assumptions about the other, great upset and opposition, self-righteousness and the desire to punish. Anybody relate to any of this? We see lots of it. And my tendency is to think that I'm upset about that because that's not how it should be right now. And we've, done all this growing and we shouldn't be doing that anymore. And anyway, why is it so bad right now? It never was before. That is not true at all. In fact, more of this has been true for a long time than probably anything else. And the greatest contributors to the problem are religion and greed. Religion and greed, those two things. Now, we're a religion, we're a faith. Maybe more spiritual than religious, but we're a faith. So we can get tangled up in this stuff just as much as any other group of people, because we think we know what's so. And we might, but we could be wrong about some of it, too. So I think it's important for us to hold what we believe with reverence and also just with a grain of salt. Like, this is what I know right now, and I could be wrong about some of it. But this is the highest that I know right now, so I'm going to live from the highest that I know and rise higher if I can. If there's a higher thought I can grab onto, then I want to be able to at least see it, at least consider it, yeah? In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus says to somebody who comes to him for a healing, if you can believe, everything is possible to him who believes. If you can believe. So one aspect of the way the law works through us has to do with our beliefs. what we can hold as possible, what we can hold as true, or at least as a possibility. We say this month we're stretching into greater possibilities. That means rising to a place where when we look at the worst circumstances, we can still consider how might this be resolved at a higher level of harmony? How might it be resolved within me at a higher level of harmony? You know, there is a little fairy tale about a bird encouraging somebody to take an action and saying, but you don't know if it might not be that your one action or your one thought or your one statement is all that the universe is waiting for to be able to resolve this or flip this over or heal this situation. And then as the snow is falling around them, the little bird looks over and a limb falls from the weight of the snow. And the little bird says, what snowflake was it that became finally the one drop of weight that broke that branch off? One snowflake was the last one that fell, and that did it. Who knows but what you or I, we're the last snowflake to turn the situation around somewhere where there's conflict, even if it's far away from us. Because we had a higher thought or a higher feeling or a deeper love about that situation, that person, that thing. Michael Talbot, who wrote The Holographic Universe, said, according to our current understanding of physics, every region of space is awash with different kinds of fields composed of waves of varying lengths. When physicists calculate the minimum amount of energy a wave can possess, they find that every cubic centimeter of empty space contains more energy than the total energy of all matter in the known universe. Every centimeter of empty space. You think God is omnipotent? Every centimeter of empty space has more energy than all of the matter in the known universe, which is, considering the size of the universe, all the known matter in the universe isn't a whole lot. But space, that freezing cold darkness, it's full of energy. And he goes on to say, space is not empty, it is full. And it is the ground for the existence of everything, including ourselves. Wow. So Ernest Holmes says, we are surrounded by, immersed in, and there is flowing through us a creative something, call it what you will. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief, this is what I was reading to you earlier, creates a tendency in the law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. And he goes on to say, to learn how to think is to learn how to live. For our thoughts go into a medium that is infinite in its ability to do and to be. By thinking, we can bring into our experience whatsoever we desire if we think correctly and become a living embodiment of our thoughts. This is not done by holding thoughts, but by knowing the truth. So I said before, we could be wrong about some of this. So what we want to be able to do is to attach our belief to the highest truths, maybe with a small t, that we can learn about and know, to expand and question and learn and make space always for the question, is there more? Is there a better way to think of this? Is there a higher, more accurate way to live this? What could I do in this moment? One of our ministers, Reverend David Bruner, put something on Facebook this week that really stopped me. he read this information somewhere and he was passing it on, and I thought it was brilliant, that there is now some thought that being sad is just a habit that we get used to. That maybe being anxious or being depressed is just a default habit that we get into. So something happens and it triggers that reaction that we're used to, and we feel sad, or we feel anxious, or we feel depressed. But maybe it's just a habit. So what if I decided when I feel depressed or anxious, what if I decided I'm going to think positive things, I'm going to think some happier things right now, I'm going to see if I can't begin to create a different habit, shift this, and experiment with it to see if I can actually change this habit. What a brilliant idea, because thought is creative. That belief plus the feeling repeated. Okay, so the belief is, right, that depression and anxiety has run through my family. That's a belief. Not necessarily the truth. We could all have a bad habit. Okay, so this runs through my family. I now think I have a genetic connection to that, which is already a mistake, but okay. So there may be a genetic tendency to that, and also I've learned it by example, right? This is how we react to things. This is how I see people react to things. This is the normal way in my family to react to those things. Well, maybe it's just a bad habit we pass down from one to the other, because we don't actually know the things that get turned on and off in our brains out of all of our inheritance from our ancestors. The things that get turned on and off in our brains may be affected by our choices of thinking and behavior as much as by however we sort of came in. So the possibility is that even our default upsets could be changed. Why not experiment with that? Why not see if those shifts take place when we make a decision to do it differently? Okay, so I feel blue today, so instead I'm going to think of all the good things about this day already. I'm going to see how many I can think of. I'm going to listen to music that I like to sing or dance to, that makes me happy. I'm going to talk to a friend who's very funny, who always makes me laugh. I'm going to do stuff that I normally would not do on a day that I feel blue. Why not? Maybe that's all it takes. When I was in the School of Ministry, the dean of our branch up in Seattle, Dr. Glenn Wood, had a saying that reminds me of Ernest Holmes. And I memorized it. I wrote it down and I memorized it because I liked it so much. He said, when you believe more in what you don't see than what you do see, what you do see, you won't see. And what you don't see, you will see. You see? And I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. And it's so true. You know, Wayne Dyer wrote a book that said, I'll believe it when I see it. That was the title. I'll believe it when I see it. No, he switched it around too. I'll see it when I believe it. I'll see it when I believe it. I have a friend who writes for Science of Mind magazine, Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings. And he wrote once a while back that a friend of his came to him and said that he had decided, this friend, had decided to believe in angels. Not because any angels had showed up to furnish proof of their existence, but, as his friend put it, if I don't believe in them, I'll never see one, even if they're there. So I've decided to believe in them. What a great idea. Who knows what he's seen since then? I mean, I'm open to the possibility. So here we have all of this creative juice, all of this, when we say God is omnipresent and omnipotent, if omnipresent means all of God, is where you are. It also means that omnipotence is right where you are. Not that you can go out and rule the world, that's not what I'm saying. But it means that we are underestimating the power that we have, our own potential, to make these kinds of shifts and changes in ourselves that then affect the totality of human consciousness, not just our own. So why not? And I want to close with this wonderful story from Father Sean O'Leary. Now, oh no, before I go to Sean. So belief plus emotion plus repetition gives us a result, right? So here is an image. What do you think these two people are thinking? You did it. No, you did it. It's your fault. Yeah? And
I love you.
what kind of emotion is behind it's your fault? Blame. What else? Self-righteousness. Anger. Right. So what they're doing is like a boomerang. It brings more of that experience back. Here is a Sunday service. People are taking hands. What is the thought in taking somebody else's hand? We're connected. What else? Love. What else? Sorry? Strength. We're in it together, right? I have my community. What then do we feel? What is our feeling tone in that? Belonging, maybe trust, caring, taking care of one another. We're welcoming each other somehow in that, yeah? We're having faith in something greater together. Now, here's a fellow who is experiencing, what would you guess? I hope. Yeah, it could happen for me. They're just about to draw the lottery numbers. It could happen for me. What is he feeling in this moment? Excited, eager, enthusiastic. He is ready to allow. He's got an expectancy, a hopeful expectancy in that. And then you'll notice that all of these are hands. They're all expressed just with hands. Well, we get his face too. And then there's this one. What do you think that she is thinking? Okay, it might be bad hair day. I've certainly done that in front of the mirror. What else? What else might she be thinking? Exasperated. What else? Frustrated. I can't take it. This is too much. Overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, maybe cynical that it's never going to be better. This is the seed of what is the more they're investing in that moment, investing energy in, investing time in. All right, now I want to share, this is from Father Sean O'Leary down in San Jose. He told this story about a dream he had. So in this dream, he had a container of the paper punch holes that come out when you punch paper, you know, of all different colors, like it was all been construction paper. So he had this container, this clear container, and it was full of all these different colored circles, little circles. And he was given the directive from somewhere, shake the container. And so he shook this container, and when he did, all the colored dots arranged themselves into bands of color in this container, in stripes. And he thought, this is fantastic. It's impossible that this has occurred. I've got to take a picture of it. And so he wanted to run for the camera, and he heard the voice say, shake it again. Oh, he really didn't want to shake it again. But even though he was insisting on taking a picture, the voice was insistent too, so after a lot of resistance, he finally did shake it again. And this time, all the colored dots arranged themselves in bands of concentric circles in color. And he was even more amazed. He said, "This is incredible. I must take a picture of it." And the voice came back, "Shake it again." Now, he really didn't want to lose these circles, but finally, reluctantly, he shook it again. And this time, the dots arranged themselves into a three-dimensional portrait of a girl. And he covered his ears and ran for a camera. And then he woke up. He said in the dream, each time he thought what he had was so precious that he couldn't bear to risk losing it. And yet that portrait had always been present in those dots. It just hadn't been visible. He had to have the courage, the willingness to shake it up, to see what happened next. So his message was to the congregation as a result of this dream. He said, the message is, have the courage to shake the container. All the potential is already present there for a magnificent outcome. Nothing is missing. This is the message I want to leave you with this morning. Don't be afraid to shake up your belief system, because you could bring forth a magnificent new result. You have all the presence and all the power running through you right now. Nothing is missing. Namaste. Thank you. So let's go ahead now and take this to anchor it within. As we turn within, we recognize that there is one presence in this place, but that one presence is in its fullness in this place. It's in its fullness within me. It's in its fullness within each one of us in this place. In this fullness is all of its power in this room, within me, within each one of us. All of this presence and all of this power brings forward in our experience exactly what we need to know when we need to know it. And we open to this power of creation in us that allows us to see ourselves clearly and lift up to a higher level, to rise in our consciousness, to open in our consciousness to something finer and higher and wiser and better and more loving than we have ever even imagined up to this moment. So we open with willingness, like a tiny child discovering a flower for the first time. We open with complete willingness to delight and beauty and love and joy. Bless you. And with great gratitude, we accept this for ourselves personally, for everyone in this place, for everyone who ever hears this prayer. We're so grateful that this is the truth that waits in us for demonstration. We're so grateful to remember it and to come back to it once again and put it into practice. We are free in the Spirit. And so it is. Please stand and join me for the morning affirmation. Together we say, regardless of history and appearances, the trend of creation is toward greater good. I know this. So I trust the activity of the universe in my life now. I let it be and let it flow. And so it is. Thank you. You may be seated. And I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward. This is our time of sacred giving. And if you are with us for the first time today, your presence here with us is your gift. The same is true if you are online with us today. And if you are online with us and you would like to make a contribution to Golden Gate, you can text the dollar amount you'd like to give to the number on the screen and then just follow the directions. We bless that gift just as we bless all the gifts that are being given in this room and all of us and everything that Golden Gate has received during this past week. We bless all of it right now together with this giving affirmation. So I invite you to put your hands over your heart with your gift, or just your hands over your heart, because you're the gift as well, as we say this together. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
I'm tired of twisting the wind to see which way it's gonna blow me now. I just won't live like that again. Gonna choose a different path some way, somehow. And I gotta live free. I gotta live for me. No longer twisting in the wind to see which way it's gonna blow me now. With my heels I'm digging in, I'm gonna hold myself to higher ground. And I gotta live free. I gotta live for me. No longer twisting in the wind, the strength of who and how I am I have found. I've come so far and worked so hard from living my life, I will not back down. And I gotta live free. I gotta live for me. Every moment is a choice point. Every thought is a creative one. So how, tell me how are you? Gonna live now. I gotta live free. I gotta live for me. I gotta live free. I gotta live for me. Live free. Live free.
So on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, we do, all of us now, accept this offering and send it out into the world for it to seed that awareness for all people everywhere that they have power within them to make a new choice, a better choice for their lives. And so it is. So if you're with us for the first time this morning, I want to draw your attention to the table here at the back where Galen is standing. This is our welcome table. It has all kinds of information on it for you. Feel free to pick up anything back there, but be sure that you get a welcome packet, little envelope that says welcome on it. Inside there's a blue card. If you fill that out and give it to Galen, she's going to give you a little book as our thank you gift to you for being here today. And it doubles also as our invitation to you to come back and be with us often in the future. Thank you, Galen. And I also want to especially thank everybody that helped us set up and helped make the room delightful this morning. And I want to draw your attention to the altar by the Frost family. This is an image of flowing, but also we recognize in Science of Mind in the Foundations class that the way the creative law works a lot like the teapot or a coffee pot. You have all of your thoughts and beliefs, right, in the basket. And the creative law is that hot water that flows through it to give you the result that is your tea or your coffee. So we have a lot of flow going on up here and a lot of water. And this is the flow of creation, of creativity. So let's thank everybody, especially the Frost family, for everything that we have with us this morning, all of this goodness. And also, there's going to be a men's gathering coming up at the home of Steve Einhaus on February 8th. That's a Saturday, from 3 to 5 p.m. And the address is up here, and it's also, I believe, in your bulletin this morning. You can go there, gather at the outside fire pit area where there's going to be drumming and poetry reading. So bring your favorite poems, bring your drum, or if you don't have one, just come and snatch somebody else's, whatever you want to do. Join in, guys. This is for the men only, sorry, ladies. And it will go from 5 to 8 plus, he said. So you're going to start with drumming and poetry and go from there. Whatever unfolds from there is what unfolds from there. And it's 3 to 5 plus. Whatever I said, forget it. 3 to 5 is correct. Yeah, 3 to 5 is correct. And if you have questions, contact Steve. His phone number is up here now. And I'm sure you have the correct information also in your bulletin. So either way. We are now in the next season of snack provisions. So from February through May is this next period of time, February, March, April, May, 4 months, which means if you choose a Sunday to bring snacks, between now and June, you're going to do it 4 times. That's it. And so we encourage you to sign up back at the activity table, back at the event table, whatever we're calling this now. There's a sign-up sheet back there to choose one Sunday, the first Sunday, the third Sunday, that you might be willing to bring and contribute to the snacks for that morning. You're welcome to bring fresh things if they're, new and fresh, or things from the garden if you actually have something coming up at this time of year. And all the free options, sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, those are welcome too, either, any, or all. So sign up for that. Also, for those of you that want to do something for the folks that are experiencing loss in the Southern California fires, whether it's their pets or their homes with all of their physical memory pieces, there is a website through CSL now. It's csl.org/2025-SoCal-fire-resources/. And if you go to that, it will give you places you can contribute and other information so that we can also help our brothers and sisters down in Southern California, along with all the wonderful folks that are helping down there. Also, if you have something heavy on your heart this morning, I encourage you to sit with one of our practitioners after the service and have a prayer. They're here as a service to you this morning to do that. And if you go to the table and there's nobody there at the practitioner table, they'll be right back. They're probably just praying back here with somebody else. So just go and wait, and you'll get your turn. You can also put a prayer request into the box on the table, and it'll be prayed over for a week by our folks on the prayer team. Or you can request prayer online as well through our website. But I encourage you to see our practitioners and see if you can't change your mind about something critical in your life right now. All right. Knowing all that, practitioners, would you surround the room? And before we do the closing blessing, we're going to do a prayer for you all. So just let this prayer wash over you from every direction. This is a chamber of prayer, and all of us are going to pray in our own ways at the same time. Just let yourself receive it. And if you're in the circle praying, remember that it's flowing over to you as well. All right? So we turn within right now. And so it is. Please stand and join us for the closing blessing and song. As we say together, I now walk, so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally. And so it is. And we know this song. This is one of Karen's.
Thank you so much for having me with you this morning. Let us all be stretching into possibility and being the stand for what we want to see in the world. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand let there be joy. I am a stand for joy, let there be love. I am a stand for love. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. We are making a